What is up, my friends? Welcome to the Jeff and Josh, the J&J show. We're going to get into today's topics. I'm excited about today's show. We got a lot of fun stuff to talk about. First things first, I want to talk about is, some of the stuff that we're going to try to get into today. A lot of different topics we've got today. We've got Thanksgiving costs broken down, what's affordable this year. Reaction to Biden calling Xi Jinping a dictator. We got to check out that video. The U.S. presses China to stop flow of fentanyl. Black Friday and what it means for the current economy, what that looks like. So if you're looking to get Black Friday deals, are you going to be spending more this year? Are you going to be spending less this year? The pro-Palestinian supporters stormed the DNC headquarters. This is an interesting one. This is, I think, is a something that I think we should really dive into when it comes to leadership and emotions. And this is Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens feud over Israel-Hamas conflict. And another one is TikTok users are defending Osama bin Laden after reading his letter to America. So before we get into all that, Jeff, how's your day going so far?
Very good. Send out a lot of proposals today. Shoot, I have one more to sit out for the agency. So business is hopefully coming in soon. We're on the upswing. Been out serving, but yeah, very good. I have a busy weekend today. We have a flag football game that I'm trying to recruit people for on Saturday at 9 a.m. Maybe my last chance to play flag football for a Booze Bowl, for Voo down here. And what else? I mean, that's my day. And a lot of stuff. Just went to Fresh Kitchen. Shout out there. And we had the biggest rainstorm in Miami the other day, so my phone is in rice right now.
Yeah, how's that working? Is
What?
that does it turn on or does it not just it just
It says it's findable and it turns on like this. I'll show it to you. I just actually came from the AT&T store. Met a guy, ironically needs that. It comes on like that. See?
hey man, there's some hope there. I've had
Yeah, I've
phones.
seen it. That's what the guy said. He said take it to the Apple store tomorrow. He's like, there might be a way they can check it. If it's not water damage, they could revive it.
All right, let's get into the first story. So the first story that I want to go over, honestly, let's tackle it right out of the bat. We got to check this one out. Reaction to Biden calling Xi Jinping a dictator. So in case
Yeah.
you get aware, Xi Jinping came to America and he is basically visiting and he's had a meeting with a lot of different CEOs, the presidents, senators, things of that nature. There's just discussions. We're welcoming him to our homeland. It's the reason why we talked about on the last podcast how Gavin Newsom cleaned up San Francisco to make it look good. But what happened is really what I want to show this video is this to me is just, listen, we all know where Biden stands. Maybe we don't. Maybe we all don't have the same belief, but I think anybody with half a brain can see that Biden is struggling right now mentally. And I can't imagine that the people who are helping Biden in his cabinet, how stressed they feel when you have a leader that you know is not strong and you're propping them up. Because that's exactly what's going on. This is a very good example of it. And it's unfortunate, but it's almost hysterical to see. So, all right. So this is one of basically I believe, come on, second, let me pull this up for you guys. So Jeff, have you heard anything about Xi Jinping's visit?
Yeah, we'll clean up San Fran finally. So that's I did see the part where Vinny made a joke. If your kids need to clean up your bedroom, let's have the president of China come in.
So this is Senator Blinken, I believe. I might have that wrong, but this is basically one of the guys that is
today, did you still confirm President Xi as a dictator? This is the term that you used earlier this year.
This is just audio. The video's not going.
You can't hear it?
Yeah, but there's no video with it.
There should be video.
Yeah, the video was playing. I think it was a little delayed.
All right, let me stop sharing.
I think it was working. It was working then, just before he stopped.
All right, so watch his face when they say this.
Mr. President, after today, would you and she dictator, this is in terms that you use?
Saying my screen sharing is paused.
Yeah, it pauses. That's weird. I don't know. Do you want me to share to mine? See if it comes up?
Oh, it'll do the same thing.
Maybe Zoom knows and they're they're not
Let's just do this thing. I hate technical difficulties. Pretty soon we're not gonna have any of these technical difficulties. All right, let's just watch it from this one. I'm not gonna make it bigger. Watch this gentleman's face.
Mr. President, after today, would you still refer to President Xi as a dictator? This is a term that you used earlier this year.
Well, look, he is. I mean, he's a dictator in the sense that he is the guy who runs a country that is a communist country that is based on a form of government totally different than ours.
Let's watch that again. So, Mr. President, after today, this is, by the way, this is a hell of a question to ask from the media. Think about this question for a second. They know, anybody knows, if you've been following, even if you're not following politics, you kind of know Biden's mental state, and you're asking this. Mr. President, after today, let's see.
After today, would you still refer to President Xi as a dictator? This is a term that you used earlier this year.
Well, look, he is. I mean, he's a dictator in the sense that he is the guy who runs a country that is a communist country that is based on a form of government totally different than ours.
Mr. President,
By the way, I applaud Biden because Biden told the truth. Like, he's saying, hey, listen, it's a communist country. Look, he is, right? So I applaud Biden. Biden told the truth. There's a way to kind of
so here's the thing. Biden is the Democratic version of Trump. He is. Like, people got so mad that Trump was in there. He's unhinged. Everything he said that Trump would say, died like a dog, which you should play that. Probably shouldn't say that either. Funny, but wrong, okay, by President Trump, right? Probably shouldn't say that. Obama more presidential, and we took him out. We did that. I don't know if you have that clip. Great clip of died like a dog. The same thing, Biden, I know we all get mad at Biden for like falling down and not being all that. He's had multiple times, aside from him being, a little bit weird with the younger kids and straight up racist. He's that same generation. He's that old guy, says whatever's on his mind. Like, I think there should be an age limit of you can't be that old to run. Like, I think that's what we should do. If anything, I think
that conversation needs to be had. And Biden is a perfect
because they do. But here's the thing: like, I almost don't think that's the case because I guess wisdom and everything. If people are very old, but they had like a physical test that supposedly, I don't know what's in it. It's obviously don't walk up a set of stairs because or maybe Biden did pass a few, but I don't know what's in that test
at this point. So did you see The Rock on Joe Rogan? And did you see?
I did not watch any of that. Nope.
Let's bring this up real quick. This is we're getting a little bit off topic here, but
I think it's right on topic too. We have that. Did we? No.
So
PBD covered that. PBD covered that, and he said exactly what he said. He said, and there's a point exactly what you said to Sean. He said, by the way, I was just on a video call with the tour. I cut it off. I told him we were doing this. He's like, let me know. I'll hop on. I was like, we could bring him on as like maybe a home team, Maybe our home team should be me, you, Arturo, Sean. Man, that would be a shit show. Right?
That would.
We need more. Now I guess 4, right?
Check this out.
Like the Brady Bunch and Squares. Yeah, I want to do it. I haven't watched any of this.
Republican friend. Like when I was a kid, you could have a Republican friend. Like it was no big deal.
Yes.
It's no big deal. Like, oh, Bobby likes George Bush.
Of
Who
course.
cares? Who gives a
Right.
fuck? You were a supporter of Bill Clinton. He liked George Bush. Nobody cared. Nobody fuck you. You know, it wasn't like you're a Nazi. Like I'm a Nazi. I just want lower taxes.
What the fuck are you talking about?
How did I become a Nazi?
Dude, it's the craziest thing. I have friends who support Trump. I have friends who support Biden. I have friends.
Do you really have friends who support Biden?
I do.
Come
well,
on.
No. Here's what I do. I have friends. Thank you. That's a good check because that's important. This is important context.
They support the Democratic Party.
I have friends who are loyal to the party.
Yes. When I was a kid.
So here's what's interesting about that clip.
Yeah, he voted for Biden, didn't he?
Don't forget this. Don't forget this, which we have right here.
I have never publicly endorsed a presidential candidate or a vice presidential candidate in my life, over my career. So I figured let's kick this conversation off this way by me officially publicly endorsing you both to become president and vice president of our great country.
Thanks,
Oh,
TJ.
that's
Thank you,
fantastic.
thank you, thank you.
Thank you. That's
Means a great
incredible.
deal to us, for real. Thank you.
Really. Thank you.
You guys are both obviously experienced to lead. You've done great things. Joe, you've had such an incredible career. You've led, in my opinion, with great compassion and heart and drive, but also soul. And you and I.
So I don't want to get too much more into it, but the thing that I find interesting about that, look, just playing devil's advocate for a second, we were in a crazy part in our nation, and a lot of people just were like, anybody but Trump, because this is chaos, and they did not want to look to Trump, right?
Mm-hmm.
Having said that, this was probably one of this was probably one of the exact, like, kind of like, I don't want to say an opposite of what you intentionally are going to believe, but okay. So Joe Rogan calls him out, by the way. Joe Rogan calls The Rock out. And here's one thing that is very interesting to have as of a concept. Joe Rogan is like an alpha, right? He is the top podcaster. He's probably going to get
I
$1
guess
billion.
he got tanked by no Trevor Noah.
What?
Trevor Noah dethroned him, I read.
I guess so, because I guess Trevor Noah's show is new. So we'll see if that is sustainable. So, but Joe Rogan, obviously the biggest podcaster there is. And The Rock is like this gigantic man, right? Joe Rogan, 5'8", 190, 200 pounds. The Rock is like 6'5", whatever it is. Huge guy, big, tough guy. And Joe Rogan, this is why Joe Rogan is so popular, by the way, guys, because of what he does right here. He calls The Rock out.
Who support Biden. I have friends.
Do you really have friends who support Biden?
I do.
Come
well,
on.
No. Here's what I do. I have friends. Thank you. That's a good check because that's important. This is important context.
They support.
So Joe Rogan just calling The Rock out like that, being like, do you really have friends who support Biden? That is why people like Joe Rogan, because of his authenticity, because he's able to call people out and say, hey, man, like, what are you doing? Like, is this really true or is this not true? Like, be honest. So I think, and it's interesting. I mean, I don't know if The Rock is still like silently supporting Biden and still silently supporting Trump. Kamala Harris. He obviously endorsed them back in 2020. So, and I get it. We were at a crazy point in the nation, but it didn't age well, man. It did not age well. What are you up to right now?
Trying to recruit people for a football team on Saturday.
Right. That's the most important thing to do right now.
Sorry, being honest. It's Saturday. Today's away.
The honesty.
I was actually. So it's one of the reports we have later on. I was queuing it up. Fentanyl. The whole thing about fentanyl. I commented on Bobby Awaf's. What's up?
I think the stories that you have, you should tee those stories up. The ones that you put in.
Okay, yeah.
Talk to. You should share your screen, tee them up.
I got you. No, I will. Well, here but so here's the deal, though. The crazy thing about The Rock. Okay, to kind of finish on this, is he's I don't understand why he's so big or why he's such a polar. I don't get it. Like people are like, oh, can I meet The Rock? I remember Lewis House out like everybody loves The Rock, right?
So what about it don't you get?
I don't know, like he is like him, he's up there with Oprah. But I understand Oprah got there, but like him and Oprah are like the two, like people are pushing for The Rock to run for president because his popularity is so big,
He mentions that in the podcast. Yeah.
Oh, he does. What do you say?
Someone from one of the parties came out and tried to say, hey, like you should run for president, we'll back you, and this is the reason why. And he said it to Joe, he's like, there's two ways I could look at that after they left. He's like, man, they must think a lot of my leadership capabilities, or are they really that bad that they're coming to me? Which is funny. Because
Well, by the way, we really are that bad.
I know, it's unfortunate. So
like even Trump, dude, Trump's Trump,
I think so unpack that about like you thinking the reason you don't see the pull for The Rock.
Yeah, so as a marketing guy, okay, we have, and I guess it's fine because he did movies, wrestling. Like it's almost like saying like Logan Paul could be like the most popular guy now at this point, right? Logan Paul, I don't know if he's done movies, but he's been on YouTube, which is almost the same thing, kind of in a way, right? You're seeing on screen, okay, at a large level, maybe even seeing more. Mr. Beast, like maybe I don't know. It's just I just didn't. The Rock never I never watched any of his wrestling. I watched a few of his movies, right? I know he's a movie star, but what else besides that? And then I know he did he now he has like his energy drink, which I guess is good. I've never had it, okay, but I know that, which credit to him. I'm not like as a businessman. And then he had the whole Rock. You have the headphones by him and stuff, right?
Yeah, I had him back.
His grad school. The one movie I do remember was Pain and Gain. Listen, I know his story of playing football. I actually like The Rock. I'm not saying I don't like The Rock. I just don't know why he's like so like Trevor Noah has him on. This ratings go through the roof, right? He has, I don't know how many Instagram followers he has, but he has a lot. Like that's my point.
This is why he does something very, very well that I acknowledge. He uses a scarcity tactic. He uses a Taylor Swift tactic. Why is Taylor Swift so big?
Yeah, we talked about this last time, yeah.
Because she writes killer music, even if you don't like it, they're all hits. But she is not easily accessible. Neither is The Rock. When's the last time he did a podcast?
Yeah, I don't know. See, that's what makes me think.
Now, when he's making a podcast, he's going to Joe Rogan. He's going to Trevor Noah. He's doing all these things. What's happening is people are going, holy cow, wow, I want to check out with 3 hours of The Rock. And by the way, The Rock, the first 20 to 30 minutes, in my opinion, I could be wrong, he was struggling. He's never done a long form content like that. If you watch the first 20 to 30 minutes, he's asking Joe questions, and he seems interested in Joe because he is interested in Joe, but you could tell this is not, he's not rehearsed. This is a man who is used to getting his lines fed to him, who knows what the outcome is going to be because it's wrestling. He knows all these different things. Now he's in an environment where it's 2 hours of uncontrolled time. He doesn't know the outcome. I could feel that while watching him. So this is one of the reasons why I think why he has become so big is A, he's very good at his rehearsed lines. He's very good at what he does. He's also like fun. Like he doesn't take himself too seriously, even though he has an ego. He kind of makes fun of himself because of that, but he's also not easily accessible. So
I just invited him on our podcast. I said, talking with Josh Lewis about the Joe Rogan podcast, would love to have him on our J&J podcast.
Well, here's the crazy thing is, I haven't watched the whole thing. I watched like about an hour and 40 minutes of it.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe a little bit more than that. Joe Rogan called him out. Oh, do we have her on the agenda?
No, but this goes in the fentanyl story that I'm going through.
Got it. So Joe Rogan used to call The Rock out saying he does steroids. He's done massive amounts of steroids. And The Rock says that he doesn't do steroids. So it's very interesting having that relationship happen, but they don't address it at all. But yeah, pretty interesting to watch and see all that breakdown. let's go to the next story. If you want to go into the next story, you can. Otherwise, I have the next one up.
No, I'll go into it right now. Before we do, actually, I know you get mad about me sharing my whole desktop, so I'll just share this. But I gotta go out and then share. Okay, it's a little bit more work to do it the way you said, because I wanted to cue it up with a video that I saw before. All right, that made me mad. It didn't make me mad. It just, I probably spoke out of turn. All right, I'll watch the video really quick and then we'll get into it.
But I didn't do drugs.
I believe that. You look like someone who hasn't done drugs.
Yeah, I was like
You look like someone who
Straight
tells your
edge
friends
reader.
to like stop doing drugs.
I would just say you're definitely gonna die.
That's like annoying to hear when you want to do drugs.
Yeah,
They're probably gonna have a bad trip.
yeah, that happened.
And to rave.
So
I
a
went to-
lot of America does drugs. This girl's now hitting mainstream, whatever. She's very popular in her whole style. I said exactly what we said on the last episode of the J&J podcast. My brother died of drugs. How fentanyl, which I know I spelled it right, is FDA approved, makes me, and that meant to be wonder. I sent this 11 hours ago, whenever it was. All the comments in it are all people. One thing I've noticed when people do drugs, they know more about drugs than I know about drugs. Okay. So you can go on this podcast and lead it later. I probably shouldn't have left it. Jeff DR, medical is very well tolerated in patients who experience excruciating pains. It blinds the patient, explains this. So then I have a nurse doing it, right? So Jeff, if only you and him could switch places. See, like people saying like they're getting like it went off, right? It's medical fentanyl used for medical reasons. Jeff, because it's medical fentanyl, it saves lives, not like fentanyl that's laced in street drugs. Jeff, medical fentanyl and illicit fentanyl, two familiar words. So I spoke out of turn, right? I don't know. I really am not an expert on this. No more than less. Medical fentanyl is typically the form of this. Okay, so fentanyl is a great drug. The medical world, the dumbasses that cut, but it's the dumbasses that cut it with stuff, right? So user error. It's good until you die, because it's used in that. You're obviously trying to understand dose, but all right. So there's a lot. So I searched up and I found, actually, no, now we're still on the same thing. Let me stop share. Let me go here. Let me go here. And so I searched up in here because, by the way, fentanyl makes the news every single day, and it can, but it made the news even more so just recently because Biden talked to and Xing to talk fentanyl and Citigroup by opioid crisis. Senator Chuck Schumer praises deal between U.S. China to reduce fentanyl production. Fentanyl, the deadliest U.S. and China's role, explained. So we'll read this. U.S. presses China to stop the flow of fentanyl. So this is all U.S. news. China and U.S. agreed to check to crack down the fentanyl trade. So we'll do this here. All right. So I think this is the one I read before, but I forget. But we can search every day and there'll be something in the news about fentanyl, someone dying with it or something like that. More often than not. So how do I go out of this? I can't.
It won't let you. I think you have to
Subscribe.
Yeah.
All right, Bloomberg. Well, the rise of fentanyl as a street drug has brought the most dangerous phase yet, and decades long. U.S. opioid and driving record rates of fentanyl overdoses even higher. Fentanyl is claiming the lives of not just people with opioid addiction, but also users of cocaine and other drugs when it's added. Its consumption spiraled upward during the COVID-19 pandemic, and threats keeps involving dealers have begun mixing fentanyl with cheap tranquilizer that poses health risks, right? So let me see if I can go back. There was an article I read before on it. It just makes me mad with everything. And listen, if I'm not spoken on this, I'll admit I don't know this. It's the New York Times. U.S. presses China stop the flow. This is it. President
Biden put pressure on Xi Jinping to crack down on the Chinese facilities that make chemical compounds used in potent drugs. President Biden pressed the Chinese leader Xi Jinping on Wednesday to crack down on the Chinese firms that are helping to produce fentanyl, a potent drug that's killed hundreds and thousands of Americans. Plan to curb China's illicit exports of fentanyl, particularly the chemicals that can be combined to make the drug, was hoped to be one of the more significant achievements for the United States out of Mr. Biden and Mr. Xi's meeting, which took place as leaders from Pacific nations gathered for an international conference in San Francisco. Full stop for a second. If Biden does this, if he helps do this, this is the greatest accomplishment that he's done, in my opinion. After the meeting, Mr. Biden outlined an agreement to work with China to counter the narcotics trade. China is home to a thriving chemical industry that pumps out compounds that are made into pharmaceuticals, fragrances, textile, dyes, and fertilizers. Some of those same compounds can be also used to be combined to create fentanyl, an opiate that can be 100 times as potent as morphine. I don't know if you want to keep on doing this.
No, I think this is the end. I don't know. For Biden, it would be nice. That would be nice to have show the heartland of the United States relationship with China are more than just matter,
but can actually bring something to ordinary people, Mr. Johnson said in a briefing held by the council last week. Republicans have made fentanyl-related deaths a central piece of their campaign against Mr. Biden and Democrats in 2024 election. Counter move by Biden, smart man or smart team. What he's doing is if the Republicans are bringing that up and saying, hey, listen, and why do you think they're bringing this up, by the way?
What, the Republicans?
Yeah.
The
border's wide open and drugs are coming in through the border.
Right.
So
last month, U.S. Customs and Border Patrol released an updated strategy to combat fentanyl synthetic drugs, including through enhanced use of data, counterintelligence operations to track drug manufacturing, distribution networks, and target suspicious locations. Demonstrate. You saw the movie Sound of Freedom, right?
I did not see it, no.
Oh, you didn't? You gotta watch that. It just reminded me of like borders open and people doing stuff. China then broadened its position in 2022 when it halted any counter narcotics coordinated with the United States as one of the series of measures taken in response to a visit by Taiwan by Nancy Pelosi and the Speaker of the House, Beijing, self-ruled Iceland Democratic Party territory.
So what's your takeaway? Reading those comments from those people pissed me off. Obviously, might be trolls.
Listen, I spoke, but yeah, I mean, listen, you're gonna have that. Here's the thing, Bobby, whatever her name is, the really good podcast, right? She's great. She has success, what she does. She's invested all her money in podcast studio. I'm about to do the same thing here. Okay, I got it. She took it all out. She got Mark Cuban on floor. She does a very good job of doing that. She's now going mainstream, so she's gonna get all the people in America she gets that are gonna talk. She's not just targeting one base. She's talking everything with superstars, right? I make a very simple comment when they're talking very cavalierly about drugs. Very heavy comment for me to be in that space. I admit that, okay? I just am sick and tired of seeing drugs being so like put out like they're like they should be recreational and drugs are good. Like I just don't think any drugs are good. And then yes, so anyway, so I made the comment and then I found a lot of stuff. So I searched an article and I found it, and they're actually doing something. Trump did a lot great to try and combat the fentanyl process, and Biden's doing something right now, you know?
So this is what I've noticed, and this is something I've been thinking about a lot lately. We as human beings, and I've thought this because of my son, we as human beings need love. Something called failure to thrive syndrome. If you don't have love, if you're not loved as a child, you could suffer, you mentally could suffer, you could die. Having said that, there are different avenues the way people get love. And if I could write it out, I would write it out like love, like a big circle, love, and then a dash right here. And then one is alcohol, drugs. And people will do that to mask the feeling of not feeling loved, or to try to increase their dopamine, to try and increase their serotonin, or forget the fact that they're not loved. But it stems from the fact that they're looking for love. Alcohol and drugs. Second thing would be relationships. People are going to get into relationships. They're going to get married. They're going to get divorced. They're going to get into, they're going to date. They're going to run away from relationships, all because of why? Love. Third thing would be friendships and things of that nature. Friendships, bonding. You're looking for friendships so you can feel loved, you can feel accepted. Fourth thing would be accomplishments. You're getting significance, you're getting pride, you're getting ego, all of these things that are going to make you feel loved. Like if I had to do a fifth thing or a sixth thing, it would be religion. People look to religion so they can feel loved. Regardless, when it all comes down to it, people are just looking for love. That's it. We as human beings, whatever it is, we just need it, man. We need it. And the more we say we don't need it, it means we need it even more. So people use different avenues. And the drugs and alcohol, the opioids, the alcohol, the drugs, people rely on it a lot. And I think a lot of people, what they will do is, oh yeah, this is a good thing to bring up. So physiological needs: air, water, food, shelter, sleep, clothing, reproduction; safety needs: personal security, employment, resources, health, property; love and belonging, friendship, intimacy, family, sense of connection; esteem, respect, self-esteem, status, recognition, strength, and freedom; self-actualization, desire to become the most that one can be. This is a great way to put this. For me, I think without love, none of this even matters. In the Bible, it says that faith, hope, and love, the greatest of these is love.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's funny because so the way I've kind of grown, I have air, wood, food, shoulder, sleep, clothing. I guess I have reproduction skills, right? Who knows what time will time for that, but I have all that: safety, personal security, employment. Sure, I employ people. I'm an entrepreneur. Resources, health, property. It's funny, love, I have friendship. Don't really have much intimacy with them. This is the biggest thing that's going over me. Esteem, it was funny, I was on the relationship coaching the other day. She brought this up too as well, that I do a lot. I'm a big doer, but I'm not a beer. And B is, if you be, you do, and then you have, right? So I've been doing do, have, be, thinking it's that model. But if I become it and become the leader I need to be, right? Self-actualization, desire, then everything else falls in, right? Then I earn the respect, because I'm doing to get respect, right? I'm doing it to get whatever, self-esteem, recognition, right? I do a lot of stuff for recognition. I will admit that,
So I'm very familiar with this. This is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And I'm not as familiar as if saying that self-actualization is the goal, the complete goal. Once you get that, that's the epitome of it, or is it not? I'd have to look into it more. I know Human Needs by Tony Robbins. I kind of like that a little bit better. Listen, there's all different things. Some are different ways of how people respond to different charts or different quizzes. But I think me going off on that whole tirade is, we as human beings create these chemicals inside ourselves, right? The most potent drug are the ones that we create ourselves. We have the power to create drugs ourselves in our brains. Our body naturally produces DMT, right, when we sleep. And I think what human beings do is they tack on to something, and a fear or a sense of loss of it will threaten their world. So if they don't have alcohol, if they don't have drugs, they're going to feel threatened, which is why I think a lot of people stuck up for fentanyl. Also, they don't have the experience that we've had, so we're biased, right? Because Jay died of it. I have a huge bias towards it. And I'm just dude, what? So, for instance,
first time I ever heard it. I probably haven't done enough research to start throwing that word around. I just know that's what the word was. And it's kind of like you hate cancer, you hate that one word, right? And there might be good uses of it in the medical. I'm sure didn't get there by then. Obviously it wasn't. Obviously people cut stuff with. Obviously there's an illicit way of it. But I literally don't think any of the pharmaceutical drugs are I don't know. And I know it's bad just without I'm not a doctor to say any of these things, right? I'm sure there is stuff. There's a nurse we'll probably have on later on down the road. I'll learn stuff. But just for what I've known is more doctors. I know more people in the health thing, nurses, people right here in Miami leaving the nurse industry to go do holistic health because they're mad at some of the subscriptions they have that they're not really helping people. They're making it worse.
Yeah, it's probably
a lot of people on. There's actually a guy, literally, I'm at Market Fresh right down here in Miami in Midtown, trying to recruit people for this football team. I turn around to the cook. I go, "You play football?" He goes, "No." And then this other kid goes, "Football?" And I go, "Yeah." And he comes over to me. "Man, I was all state. I was this, he didn't really say all that, but he's getting all pretty and I'm like, "Oh, I don't know if I want this guy to play now." He's super serious, right? Just moved down here. So then I ask him at the end, "What do you do for work?" And he goes, "I'm doing DJ and music." He goes, "I'm a nurse, but I'm not trying to do that anymore." right? And you can tell he became a nurse and he has this probably license. Probably could, but he didn't want to do it anymore. He wants to do the DJ and play football. Cool guy, lives at Geo. But anyway.
Yeah. So let's go on to the next story because I feel like we can go on to this one forever. So I want to talk about this, and this is something that is, I think we used to see a lot from the Democratic Party, and now we're seeing a lot of it from the Republican Party. And I think it's just, I had a conversation with a friend, and they said it's so complicated. No one knows the right way of where to go with Israel and Hamas. So obviously, of what we know, that
Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens.
Correct. So
when did it start? Who started it? I mean, and I'm not talking Israel Palestine. Apparently, nobody knows that. That's been going on forever. When did it start? That's the biggest thing. You can't even comment on it because, dude. But you can do that with America. Like, here's the thing: if Indians came and started like attacking us, okay, and started like bombing us and taking us over, you could literally have people in Washington, D.C. protest, and they'd be right of this was their land first, right?
I mean, you could.
Right? Yeah. Like, I mean, 100%. And then Christopher Columbus is a guy who not a good guy, right? The whole deal, right? All that. I know because we taught that when I was a teacher in schools. My whole point in saying that is I believe if you go out and you make that happen where you like here's the thing, whose land is it anyway? Alex Ramosi talked to us. People are you could buy land and be so excited you have land. When you die, it's going to go to the government. It's going to go to somebody else,
So yeah, that's an interesting way of saying, of going through all this, but I hear you 100%.
But that's where it all comes down to. When people get all bent out of shape, it's because land, that's and whose it was first. That's really where it boils down to.
Yeah, I mean, physically correct, but has nothing to do with land. It has everything that's going on in here and in here. The land
correct, but that's where people try and make
fighting over. Yes,
all right.
Really fighting over this and this. It's tribalism. We as human beings need to feel that we belong to a certain group of people, and once we feel belonging to that certain group of people, we feel protected. We feel safe.
By the way, I will say, I know Candace Owens can be Candace Owens, but like, I actually agree with more of the side she says in here,
So she posts this. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye, when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my name's sake. No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. So this was a response to a video that
Ben Shapiro said when
Ben Shapiro posted saying, I find her absolutely despicable and disgraceful, I believe is what he said. Now, he replied to this. Let's see. He replied to this. That's a Bible verse, by the way. He replied to this and said,
that's the Bible verse I read at the speech that I spoke at last weekend. It's Matthew 25 is the first part of it,
Right. So then he responded and said, Candace, if you feel that taking money from the Daily Wire somehow comes between you and God, by all means quit. Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens both work for the Daily Wire. They are feuding online. This is like, Jeff, you and I working at a grocery store. And you're a manager, I'm a manager. And instead of us coming face to face with each other, we're feuding about it online. And
there's been multiple podcasts. It's almost like me and you having a podcast right now. Our podcast taking off, us working together. All of a sudden, me and you get mad at each other, and we just start tweeting, like text each other. Like someone said in the comments, I was like, "Yeah, like are they doing this for attention? Like at the end of the day?"
So this is what I think. I think this. listen, there's some things that Ben Shapiro says I fully agree with. There's some things he says that I fully disagree with. There's some things that Candace Owens says that I agree with, and some things I fully disagree with. What they both have in common is they're both aggressive type personalities.
Yes.
Ben Shapiro's aggressive and Candace Owens is aggressive.
I always would put Vivek kind of almost in that range a little bit.
He's
Maybe not.
very, very similar with his way of being forceful. However, he's much more graceful about it, where Ben and Candace will come from an arrogant manner.
Brutal way, yeah.
And Vivek is polished more.
Yeah, like they'll come more in the Trump way of say, we don't care about your feelings. We'll say it for the punchline, right? To make people laugh, you know? Although I will say Vivek did in the last debate, he did have a few punchline-y things. But in a way, which I almost wish he wouldn't do because he's so good that it kind of does demoralize his thing. Like, do you really need to say through 5-inch heels? It's funny, I get it. Gets us talking about it, gets him relevant. But like, could you communicate in a different way? Just say, hey, I'm aware it's Dick Cheney. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, that's another story. So let's get back onto this story. Right. So Candace Owens, Ben Shapiro. The biggest flaw that I see in this is them flaunting their beef in public. Like they're more than welcome to have disagreements with Israel, with Hamas. This situation is so complicated. I can't pretend to have the answer. I don't have the answer. Most of all that I can do is pray, really, for both sides, for both people, and for peace. But it is so complicated. It's been years of just turmoil and destruction, and I get why both sides are upset. What I feel has happened is Ben Shapiro, rightfully so, has been very emotionally involved in this, and I think he's kind of just emotionally acting out, which is this guy used to say facts don't care about your feelings. He's emotionally leading with this, which I don't blame him. I honestly don't blame him. I get it on 100%. When you go up against somebody like Candace Owens who doesn't care, now they're having infighting. The Democratic Party used to do this all the time. They'd eat their own. That was the whole thing, right? Like if you weren't woke enough, then they would cancel you. Now, we're finding the right is doing something very similar. They're fighting now. And it seems to me that this Israel-Hamas story has created so much division, which I want to get into in another story, but it's getting to the point where I think the biggest flaw of this is them airing this out in public. Now, when Candace Owens was on Tucker, she clarified the fact that Ben is not her boss. They're like co-workers, so he can't fire her, even though he's like one of the heads of the Daily Wire. And they're in separate offices. So they're in Tennessee, I believe, Nashville. Candace Owens, the whole like Daily Wire team, and Ben Shapiro's in Florida. So they're not in the same office. They don't walk.
Come by, Ben. Come by our new studio, Ben. I'd have Ben on.
Right. So right now, instead, they're choosing to air this on in front of everybody to see. And now it looks like there's division no matter what.
Like the Jake Paul, Logan Paul thing when their brothers were having a fight, remember?
Yeah.
And they did it live on and they posted anyway. And Jake Paul's like, I told him not to post it. Yeah, it's kind of like you're just posting for clicks. It kind of looks like needing attention. Listen, I totally understand. Listen, Ben Shapiro is Jewish. I totally expect him to have, with what happened, have Israel's back. Like, bipartisan. Like, if you live in Boston, you're going to be a Patriots fan. I get it, okay? Might not be right. They might cheat. They might do stuff wrong. I get it, okay? He's going to be there. Candace Owens is a Christian, okay? She can see through different stuff. She also is very popular for making the unpopular opinion popular, right? George Floyd situation. Don't think she should have commented the way she did. She did. It's fine. Made a lot of people really mad. She'll do that. Even in this thing, there's something happening. She always has to have opinion, you know?
Quick thing about the George Floyd thing is the way Candace Owens delivers her message is very aggressive again, right? So even if she's correct about something, it causes people to recoil. So delivery is important. However, now it comes out that George Floyd did not die of choking or strangulation. He died of drug overdose. Guess what he also had in his system? Fentanyl.
Yeah.
One of the leading causes of his death. So
Listen, the whole George Floyd thing was all manufactured to bring in height, just like this Israel Hamas thing. This is all built in, whether they let the Iron Dome down for Hamas to do their evil, to make it divide to this. If you can't see bigger than this, okay, you're going to be out in the streets claiming a side and dividing. And they listen, Satan's that move here. There's definitely the power to divide people. Okay, that's exactly what's going on. It's like the same. It's like watching a movie again. Here we go again. Black Lives Matter. Okay, cool. Oh, Israel, Hamas. Okay, Ukraine. Right. What else? Cuba. We didn't even get so much. But they slacked them when Cuba was going bad. Nobody took any sides there.
Cuba.
Exactly. Cuba. They shut off the Wi-Fi and they basically it was when they were really going to communist country, and nobody held any Cuba flags.
I don't remember that.
Exactly, because they failed. I don't know. I just was in my Instagram and someone said, you have a big Latina following, you should comment on Cuba. I looked it up, we look up the news now. I read how Cuba, we could look it up right now and find out what's going on.
We could. And we might. Let's just get into the next story at the moment. Right now, I want to kind of bring something more of a positive spin. What's your favorite holiday, by the way?
Kwanzaa.
Mine too. My favorite holiday is Christmas
and Rosh Hashanah.
Okay. So speaking freely from my heart, my favorite holiday is Christmas, and second is Thanksgiving. So good news here, Thanksgiving dinner will be cheaper this year thanks to lower turkey costs, survey shows. Believe it or not, the giblets that are used on Biden's chin are being auctioned off for a cheaper cost. Sorry, that's horrible thing to say. All right, so food inflation has been on a tear, with prices for food at home up 2.1% year over year in October, according to the Consumer Price Index. But not everything costs more. Now, there's some misleading information there, because the price of poultry, I know because I like to work out, has gone up over 40% year over year. 40%. So if you're paying $6 for a pack of chicken, you're paying $10 for a pack of chicken, or $9 for a pack of chicken now. It's crazy. But not everything costs more. A Thanksgiving dinner this year will gobble up less of your wallet. Man, these guys have got the great puns there. Thanks in large part due to lower turkey prices, according to the American Farm Bureau Federation. The average cost of a dinner for 10 people will be $61.70, down 4.5% from last year's record of $64.05, a record last year. The findings come from a survey conducted November 1st to 6th with agriculture advocacy groups checking prices at grocery stores in 50 states and Puerto Rico. This is important. Almost everything on the Thanksgiving menu is lower. Prices for cranberries have dropped 18%, but the main reason for the decrease is due to the star of the show, the turkey. This year, a 16-pound turkey is averaging $27.35, down 5.6% from last year ago. Consumers who have not yet purchased a turkey may find additional savings in the days leading up to Thanksgiving. I'm wondering if this article says this. This is especially welcome news as turkey prices shot up 50% between 2020 and 2022. Why are turkey prices dropping? There's plenty of demand, but there's even more supply. So in the Northeast, it's costing $64.38 for a dinner for 10 people. South is costing $59, Midwest $58, the West is costing $63. So if you're living,
so where I live, it's actually, because I lived in Connecticut, it's actually cheaper here.
Is it? Yeah,
eggs are cheaper, stuff like that. Stuff, maybe chicken, I don't know. But listen, it's Miami. I'm in Miami, there's stuff. But if you go to a normal store, like we were in Target, it's actually not that expensive,
So this is the part that I wanted to this year we started our turkeys later than we've ever started them before, because I'm predicting the size is just going to be a little smaller than last year. People are starting to feel the pinch. Lee says one of the upsides of producing smaller birds is that they're easier for workers to carry during processing. That helps because he struggles to find workers, and he's having to pay them more. Labor up, no two ways about it, he said. Employees at his farm make at least $20 an hour. Even so, he added, finding people to do it can be difficult. He's not the only one struggling with this. All of America is struggling with this. At least for consumers, though, the news is all good, and it may get better. Turkey prices could go even lower if supplies continue to increase. Heidi D still says that while the latest round of avian influenza has not made much of an impact, even the hint of the flu could shut down export markets. We may have even more turkey, she said, before adding with a smile, just enjoy turkey dinner more than once a year. Basically, there was an avian flu last year and killed, I think, 6 to 7 million turkeys last year. So that also supply, demand, that increased it. So this is my chance to ask you, what are you doing for Thanksgiving?
We're gonna do the J&J podcast. It's funny, I was on with the relationship coach the other day, Coach Soraya. Very good. We'll talk about that maybe later on. This isn't about me, it's about the world, and not about me and my future first lady, right? Although she did give me testimony. And a lot of people believe I can be president of the United States, and that's very easy for them to believe. We have Joe Biden in office, by the way, just so you know. All right, not very hard. But with that said, she asked me, what are you doing for Thanksgiving? And I said, well, probably working. And she said, no, do something. So now that I see turkey thing, I was actually walking through in Target. I don't think we're boycotting that anymore. And I saw cranberry sauce on an end cap. And I thought, man, I just want to buy some cranberry sauce. I was going to buy it. It was like, 50 cents. And then I was like, well, what do I do? Just go home and just eat cranberry sauce? Like, you got to put it with something. So I got some apples.
Nice. So let's talk a little bit about this, because what comes
But that's what we should do. What are you doing Thanksgiving? You want to come down here?
I'd love to. I'm spending it with the wife's family, and I should probably see what Dad's doing.
Yeah, fly down, bring Dad down, bring your little guy too. Make guys Thanksgiving, dude. It's crazy. Can you bring that little kid on a plane? Is that how it works or no?
No, they actually have to fly on top of the plane.
No, but I mean, do you have to pay for a seat? Is my point, or can you just like have
I
it?
don't know how that works. I'll figure that out when I have to.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I that would be crazy bringing the guy. He's never gone on a plane before, right?
No, he hasn't.
Yeah, he's young still though, but it's funny because he's so personable. Like, dude, you sent that video of him moshing. I almost wish you could play that video. That was crazy. When you watched that, I watched it a few times. Like, I know you're not one of those guys, and I feel like I'm one of those guys who brags about his brother's kids, It's funny because I talked to all these women, okay? Not really all these women. Just Sanya was here, right? The whole deal. And they're always like, you would be a great father. You don't want a kid? And I always say to them, well, I used to say no. I used to shut it down right away. I was like, well, my brother has a kid. Oh man, did I lose you?
No, I'm here.
I gotta clean off my Wi-Fi, my computer. I said, my brother has a kid. I'd entertain it now. And they all get very excited, right? Which is cool. But then I'm in. The way he comes down. That's insane.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Does he do that all the time, or is that just a one-time thing?
No, so whenever he hears, he likes drums. I think he's gonna be a drummer. Whenever he hears because metal's like, whenever he hears that like the blast beats or the double bass, like he starts going like this. And I helped him with that because I listen to metal music all the time. But anyway, enough about my son. Let's get into some other cool.
Fascinated by that. That was crazy.
It was hysterical to watch, and it is hysterical to watch. I love hanging out with him. He's awesome. Being a dad is amazing, by the way.
By the way, those moments are cool. I'm coming up here to do the podcast. I'm out watching Robert Damagella's Finance Insider, great class right before here. And as I get on so here's the thing, what's not so good about kids. I'm on the elevator, I'm on there, no problem. Okay. And this Chinese family comes on the thing. Well, I don't, they were Chinese, like I'm not saying it. And they have a huge,
the story.
They have a huge stroller and they push it on the elevator and it takes up half the space. And you can tell they're both mother and father exhausted. And they're like, so sorry, so sorry. I said, no, you guys have the kid. I don't have the kid. And they kind of like, oh my goodness. And then I said to the girl in the elevator, it's like, everybody wants me to have a kid. I'm always like, yeah. Like, but then I see their faces and I got to lug all this stuff around. I said, I'm all set.
You know what's so funny is you are such a great example of focusing on what you don't want, and you see it everywhere. Because like I am such a good example of that too. When I see kids all around, always see kids smiling. I always see happy kids. My son's always happy. So you are what you attract. So I'm sure there's other people.
It was smiling. The parents weren't. I was looking more at the parents. I didn't look at the kid. It was under a little like thing.
Now, if you didn't have a negative reaction to kids and to starting a family, do you think you would have noticed that?
No, you're right. I'm probably looking for that more. I admit that. I'm admitting. I'm at least aware. It's the first part. Listen, it's not going to take a while to.
We're losing.
Listen, Patrick and David said that most godly men need to go out and reproduce and have kids. We're more in the thing, so we're gonna work on that.
Don't do it, man.
Tomorrow night.
All right, so Black Friday sales hit in the U.S. expected to hit record highs despite economic headwinds. Money might be getting tight, but the current financial pressures seem to have little effect on consumers' appetite for Black Friday shopping. So this is saying this year, Black Friday will take place on November 24th, followed by Cyber Monday on the 27th. But plenty of companies have already started to roll out their Black Friday offers, which means that the holiday shopping season is already well underway. With deals and discounts starting much earlier and extending far beyond a 24-hour sale event, Black Friday has slowly morphed into a Black November in recent years. This year doesn't seem to be any different. Unfortunately, the U.S. economic landscape isn't looking too bright at the moment. What story? I'm sorry, I paused on purpose because I'm told every single day on my Twitter feed. Yeah, I told every single day on my Twitter feed and Instagram feed from President Biden that Bidenomics is taking off and that the economy is in great shape. Let's see. Unfortunately, the U.S. economic landscape isn't looking too bright at the moment, with persistent inflation, soaring interest rates, rising housing costs, and the restart of student loan payments putting a lot of pressure on people's budgets. And yet, despite these financial hurdles, Black Friday sales are projected to reach new highs in 2023. In the country that invented Black Friday, consumers are quite fond of this time-honored shopping tradition, don't seem to have any plans to curtail their spending habits. So what to expect this year? After the post-pandemic revenge spending, when people started splurging all sorts of goods and experienced an attempt to make up for their time they'd lost during lockdowns, the shopping frenzy cooled down in 2023. Does this mean that the shopper is going to refrain from spending money on Black Friday? Not necessarily. In fact, data suggests the exact opposite might happen. Experts predict that consumers will put aside their spending reluctance for the holiday season, swept by the multitude of offers and promotions that retailers are going to launch during this period. Black Friday sales are expected to rise by 7.5% and hit a new record of $9.8 billion. An estimated 16% of shoppers are planning to spend between $201 to $300 this year, while the rest will stick to a budget of $101 to $200. Holiday Retail Service also points a notable increase in Black Friday spending. Moreover, some analysts believe the sales will exceed pre-pandemic figures this year. The Black Friday buzz is most likely to be driven by young shoppers who are keener on hunting for bargains before the holidays. So what are your thoughts on this? Are you planning on doing any Black Friday shopping?
I'm planning on being up there with the 9.8 billion and doing some Black Friday sales. So here's the thing. The reason why it's a new record, which nobody realizes, they raise inflation. If you're a good business, you raise the price with inflation. That's how you don't go out of business. That's what they're doing. The problem is when the spenders and the young people looking for bargains are still paying more. They just said it's going to hit a new record because they're just raising the prices, right? So just like you said, if you put on chicken is 40% up and you put the chicken up, you see what I'm saying, right? So it's not like they're saving anything. It's just an excuse to buy, and people love to buy, you know?
Well, it still says that people are spending money, which, you know, in order for the economy to grow, people do need to spend money. The challenge is we are tightening the budgets. The government is tightening the budgets of the American people by just everything. interest rates, inflation, food goods. So I'm curious to see, and it wasn't in there. What I was really curious to see is if it is, what are the costs of, what's the percentage of that being charged? Is it 20%? Is it 40%? Is it 80%? What does that look like as far as consumers' debt? Is the debt going to increase? I know my plan is not to put anything on my credit cards. The only thing I want to put on my credit cards is something that will get me points, so I can come visit you, not pay any money. But I'm curious to see if people's debt is going to go up because people's shopping habits have remained the same. But yeah, that's what I'm curious to see. And unfortunately,
Wednesday, I think I'm gonna go to Wet Miami. I'll go there and talk to our boy Rami. Found something that made me think so much.
All right, so I want to get into the next story. This is a CBS News story, and so I don't know if you've ever seen an insurrection before, but I'm joking.
Dad just sent me. Dad just sent me a text.
So, pro-Palestinian protesters and police clash outside DNC headquarters in DC. Police and protesters clash outside.
Someone just got thrown. People getting thrown down the stairs. People getting thrown down the stairs.
Yo.
So
yeah, I'm so desensitized to this right now, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that looked similarly to what's the event they make a big deal out of? January 6th. Police and protesters clashed outside Democratic National Committee headquarters on Wednesday night during a demonstration for a ceasefire in the war between Israel and Hamas. Several members of Congress were evacuated, like January 6th, from the building as the protest erupted. So this is the point, and I kind of want to bring this up for two reasons. It's going to lead into the next story and the last final story, but we have a right as Americans to peacefully protest. That is our right. We can do that. I think it's beneficial. When does it get too far? Or is it even necessary to protest? Do you just go out and try to implement change? This is something that I'm struggling to find the answer for.
Well, that's what I said. Like I said this at a Black Lives Matter rally. I got up and said, I'm too smart to hold a piece of cardboard. My point was, I'm going to go make change. Now, did I do anything? Yeah, I went to try and go to the law office, realized it was all corrupt to where it was at, right? With John Larson and all these guys, it's all political. The whole thing was political. But that's my point. Some people, you need to hold the cardboard. That's all they can do. And that's something. And some people go and make change. But the way to make change is policy. This is why we got to talk about it. This is why we got to drain the swamp. This is why me and you got to run for office. If we had every commentary person run, we'd be better off, you know?
I have no desire to run for office. I have a desire to.
What if here's the thing, and this would probably be corrupt in this other saying. We don't, and I neither do I. Half the people in there corrupt. What if it was me, you, Sean, Arturo, we were all hanging out. We made all the rules, okay? And we did all that, and we just brought order to the country. Then it'd be cool. We're all hanging out, right? That's what they got. They're all hanging out, but they're all corrupt, and they're greasing their pockets, and they're sending stuff. And so now that we have no desire to hang out with any of those idiots, right? They don't like being called idiots, so then they come after us.
Yeah. What is it? When you lie to the government, they put you in prison. But when the government lies to us, it's just called being a politician.
Whoa.
It's unfortunate, but that seems to be the way. This is the way I look at it. I think protesting is our right to do as American people. I think it's necessary. I think people get way too emotionally charged at these protests, which is understandable. but I think anytime you emotionally cross like this threshold of like when you're past, let's say if you had to rate like emotions of being passionate from 1, which is dead in the water, you don't give a shit. 10 is overboard screaming at people. There's a fine line to influencing people. Passion is necessary to influence people. If you don't have passion, people are not going to pick up on what you're saying. They're not going to ingest it and say, maybe I need to change my thinking. The challenge is when people start screaming and get to the point where it's 10 all the time, people drown you out. It's like the boy who cried wolf. These fables that we're taught as kids, we don't seem to bring back into our adult life and say, wait a minute, I'm screaming so much, maybe somebody is just going to stop listening to me. I think that's what happens a lot with these protests. Is people could become too emotionally charged that they do something illegal, like the Black Lives Matter riots cost what, $2.6 billion in damages. And it happens is like now they're doing things that are illegal, they're breaking things, they're stealing things. These people, the pro-Palestinian people, they're feeling very passionate about what they feel passionate about, but now they're getting the cops to pull them out, to throw them downstairs. It gets to a point where it's not like, and I know Martin Luther King had his flaws, but he drove peaceful protests in the face of people trying to spray them down with fire hoses.
You know, Martin Luther King, his biggest adversary was a gay guy.
I did not know that.
Or his biggest, what's the adversary mean? That means
adversary is somebody you're going against.
Oh, sorry, not adversary. His biggest, what's someone who's with you?
Advisor?
Advisor, that's what I was thinking. Okay.
Maybe that's the word that you're taking off. Well, listen.
Ksenia taught me that. I don't know. I didn't read it, but then she learned in school. I
don't know how that matters at all, whether somebody's sexuality matters.
Because I was saying, this is the whole thing. I was saying there's 2 genders, and I identified as her boyfriend. She was here. She did not like that at all. Because I still thought that was funny. I was getting jealous, but I didn't want to be with her. Okay, it happens. So, long story short, I said she thought it was cute, by the way. In all fairness, I know we're live here, but when I did say it, she was just like, I get what you're saying. But then I brought it up because she's like, why are you smiling? And I thought it was funny. And then that's when she brought up hemorrhoids or whatever. And then I felt ignorant. And that's part of the reason why some things that I speak on, I'll speak on exactly what I am, be very passionate, but I seek to understand. Maybe I don't know some things. Maybe there stuff is there. I stand corrected. I always want to have an ear to open and listen, So,
yeah, that was a lot to take in. But
imagine the week I had here with her. You just got a small sample size.
Let's get into this last story here.
And by the way, I love doing this. I loved when I was watching PBD's podcast today, and he was reading off the genders. Like, wow, we do that. Like, it's actually fun. I get to hang out with you, and I get educated because I would always bear my hand. Oh, actually, can I share you a video right now that is related on this?
It is related to the story.
I think it totally is, and it actually connects to one of the other stories we do.
It's related to TikTok prohibiting videos promoting Bin Laden's letter to America.
Yeah, I didn't watch it, but it has 50K views, and it's by Ben Shapiro, and he's commenting on it.
All right, if you got it right now, share it.
I do. I had it before. I was waiting because I knew we were going to do this. I haven't watched it, but like a lot of times I want to watch this stuff with you. So see, apparently Bin Laden is the good guy right now. So this is it. Because I searched him up.
Apparently there is a new trend over on the TikToks in which all the kids are discovering a 2002 letter from Osama bin Laden to Americans. And they're liking it. They really like it, actually. Why? Because it makes...
Sure, I can't. I'm trying to not just only share the screen here. There we go. Fail. Remember Sean dated that girl? Oh, sorry, I shouldn't say that.
If there's 10 billion people on Earth, and
Apparently, there is a new trend over on the TikTok in which all the kids are discovering a 2002 letter from Osama bin Laden to Americans. And they're liking it. They really like it, actually. Why? Because it makes the same litany of claims about the West that a lot of leftists in the West like to make, about how the West is a colonialist oppressor, about how the West only favors white people, about how the West is controlled by the Jew money. And a lot of the left, same people who are standing for Hamas these days, they're suddenly realizing that they like Osama bin Laden. Now, normally that might make one think, perhaps I should pre-examine my suppositions, if I'm on the same side as Osama bin Laden, am I thinking wrong? But no, it turns out that all along, Osama bin Laden, according to some of these folks, was the good guy. It's the West that's the bad guy. These are the wages of several decades of indoctrinating children into the belief that their own civilization is evil and wrong and needs to be destroyed. So why exactly are we surprised when we see hundreds of thousands of morons marching with Hamas next?
Yeah, that's true. So we're okay. So that was related, right?
It was, yeah. So that's Ben Shapiro's way of breaking it down. So this is a Reuters story. So TikTok will prohibit content that promotes Osama bin Laden's 2002 letter detailing the former Al-Qaeda leader's justifications for attacks against Americans, the short-form video app said on Thursday. Discussions of the 20-year-old letter have spread on the platform this week in the context of debate over the Israel-Hamas war, with some users in the West praising its contents. The letter, which was written after Al-Qaeda's attack on the United States that killed nearly 3,000 people, criticized U.S. support for Israel, accused Americans of financing oppression of Palestinians, and contained anti-Semitic comments. Bin Laden was killed in 2011 in Pakistan by U.S. military Special Operations Unit. Content promoting this letter clearly violates our rules on supporting any form of terrorism. A search for a letter to America on TikTok surfaced no results on Thursday, with the notice said that the phrase may be associated with content that violates our guidelines. Some U.S. lawmakers have called for a ban of the Chinese-owned app and renewed their criticisms before Thursday's announcement. Democratic Representative Josh Lewis said on Wednesday on X, formerly Twitter, that TikTok was pushing pro-terrorist propaganda to influence Americans. White House spokesperson Andrew Bates said in a statement on Thursday, there is never a justification for spreading the repugnant, evil, and anti-Semitic lies that the leader of Al-Qaeda issued just after committing the worst terrorist attacks in American history. So The Guardian originally posted the letter, and then on Wednesday, The Guardian removed the full text of bin Laden's letter, which had it published in 2002. The news outlet said on its website that the letter was being shared on social media without its full context, and that it would instead direct readers to the news article that originally reported on the letter. TikTok said previously its recommendation algorithm does not push certain content to users, and that the company has removed hundreds of thousands of videos since October 7th for violating policies against misinformation and promotion of violence. What are your thoughts on this?
There was an episode, I think it was with Patrick and David, and he interviewed a guy from Facebook who had to, I think it was Patrick and David years ago, and he had to filter through all the content on there, right?
Yeah.
And the guy talked about bestiality and stuff like that to see. Here's the thing. I remember Ahmad was like, we should just go build a social media network. Forget that, man. The stuff, the management you have to do on that. And like TikTok, by the way, shout out to them if they did ban it for a point. Like you got to have some sort of hate speech on there. They banned Andrew Tate. You can't put anything with Andrew Tate on TikTok, put on YouTube, which is weird. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how they did that, but you can repurpose Andrew Tate on there. And this level, I don't know. Obviously, it went out. Listen, here's the thing. People are going to say TikTok and Instagram. Like, here's the thing. It's just pointing fingers. And like Elon Musk is going to point that Instagram has hashtags for pedophilias and stuff like that because it makes his software better, right? People are going to post that Twitter or X is, whatever. I don't know. There's going to be something that makes their media better, right? And it's actually kind of comical. Like people just point at everybody like, no, but you do this, but you do this. Like it's really kind of insane. But I think all social media is exactly that. It's social, it's media, and it also can be corrupt. I know I've seen stuff on multiple social media platforms. Well, there's a lot of TikTok, a lot of Instagram that is just not healthy to watch.
So what is your initial reaction, though, to the story of people?
I'm not shocked if we indoctrinate kids. I was a teacher. We taught some narrative stuff all the time. I remember talking to Andy Lizio being like, I ain't teaching this. we have to show it to CNN. I'm not going to do this. And this was in a behavioral special needs school. He taught history. I used to come into him, and he would always try and put like a positive spin on secular like agenda. Like they taught that, Christopher Columbus, all the woke ideology was the curriculum that he had, right? And he was like, I'm not going to teach it. But it's no shock that we're here. Like, is it? I'm not. This is why we were homeschooled,
Just think of this from a leadership perspective. If I'm an employer and I'm hiring a bunch of people, if I belittle them, if I make them think everything's their fault, if I make them think that they are flawed and that they have to come to work just to repent for all the things that they have done, what do I have?
Yeah, it's just people don't want to work with you.
I have control over them. If you can get somebody to think very low of themselves, but also feed them,
like gaslighting.
So
that's gaslighting.
Yeah, right, exactly. So if you're gaslighting is a slowly psychological way of suggesting certain things. But if I am like, and it is, I'm not saying that you're not correct, but they're blatantly coming out and saying, listen, we have to repent for our sins. We have to repent for our evil whiteness. We have to repent for the fact that we did all these things. And listen, history is not without stains. You can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs. There are things that happen.
Our history in this was slavery and not having women right to vote. Okay. We've improved, but we don't have a perfect history in a lot of different things, and there's slaves in other countries that are still, and they still oppress women in other countries. Right. So we've come a far way from that. Now we've gone so far that we're letting people just mutilate their bodies because they don't feel like that and paying for surgeries and having people do that. So we've gone too far, but.
Did you see the podcast of the detransitioners on PBD?
I couldn't stomach all of it. I watched them. I told Dad about it.
It's very good. It's
very necessary. But Patrick and David brought those people on, and I thought, oh my God, is he bringing on people to be like, oh, it's okay to be trans? No, it was my life was worse because I was trans. That was his whole agenda on the podcast.
I think his agenda was just to hear from people who have gone through something that sounded like they were forced into it and now they regret. Because you could have somebody who solely believes, hey, I am this type of person, and now you have an agenda that's pushed on people which says if you think that, then you need to be pushed into therapy that affirms that. So the therapy is just saying there is no way to figure out what's the root cause of you thinking this. It's just we have to affirm that. And that was the big takeaway that I had learned from that. For me, therapy has always been like, let's get to the root cause. Let's find out the reasoning why and sort through that. But it sounds like what a lot is happening is in therapy when it comes to children who are going through these awkward times in their life. They don't know what's going on. And they think maybe I'm a boy, maybe I'm a girl. As soon as they have that thought, they're pushed into therapy, and that therapist immediately affirms the fact that they should be somebody else. It doesn't say, well, what's the root cause of this? What are you feeling at home? What's going on in the relationship with your dad? What's going on in the relationship with your mom? Has there been any abuse? They don't ask any of those questions. It's, yes, let's push you straight towards it. And it's pretty crazy to see. It's pretty crazy to see again, it's the pharmaceutical industry, the profit that some of these surgeries are starting to make. But that's another conversation for a different time. Listen, let's wrap up. It's 9:20. Thank you guys so much for watching us. Jeff, you got anything left that you want to say to the show?
Yeah, we have a VA agency. Anybody needs to know. I won't market or promo on here. But I'm an entrepreneur. Follow me. I'm Jeff the Entrepreneur on Instagram. I definitely look at learning, and I claim to not know it all. Okay, but I claim to make myself aware and listen. And can't wait till we have guests on. Can't wait till I have the studio podcast. Actually, shout out to Brian Breach's Red Ropes podcast this weekend. And I think, when are we going to do our next show? Thanksgiving? You want to do it Thanksgiving?
You do one before that, and then maybe one on Thanksgiving night. Yeah.
Okay. I have a Monday relationship webinar at 8:00 with Soraya. I have Tuesday's Inner Circle call at 6, Mastermind, which I've been teaching for years. That's a marketing mastermind, create digital product. Wednesday might work.
So I'm saying we might do one Sunday night. where I was going with that. Like,
Oh yeah,
prior.
Sunday night. Yeah, I'm at Brad Pickett's meetup at 5 o'clock Citadel. We'll probably be done at 8. Probably be done by 8.
All right. Well, it sounds like you got a busy weekend and busy week. That's good. That's a good thing. All right, guys, follow him, Jeff the Entrepreneur. Follow me, Josh Lewis Growth. If you like this content, if you believe in what we're doing, we're pushing out leadership standards so people become better leaders of themselves, learn how to be better marketers, have a better voice for themselves. Share this, subscribe, get the voice out of positivity. We don't know it all. We're figuring it out as we go, but we're a strong believer in doing the right things and making sure that other people are treated well, but also standing up for what's right and being voiced for what's right and teaching people how to become better leaders and better versions of themselves. So with that said, have a great night, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye. We